let's all throw them down and hope that they will never see the truth around. Another promise, another scene, another package lie to keep us trapped in greed. Another green bells wrapped around our minds, an endless red tape to keep the truth confined. They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a very special show, which I say that a lot, but like it really is. Um, so my guest tonight, you may be familiar with the Uhuru 3. It's frankly not talked about as much as it should be. But Miss Penny Hess is the chairwoman, who is one of the Uhuru 3, and she was targeted by the FBI, raided, and now she faces up to 15 years in prison for what essentially boils down to what should be free speech. So we'll get into more of that. Penny, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me on, Joy, and it's really wonderful to meet you.
You as well. First, for those who aren't familiar with the Uhuru 3 or your work, can you just kind of give some background as to your book and how long you've been in the movement, your organization?
Well, yes, I would be glad to. I am the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and that is an organization that was formed by a Black organization, or as they say, African, because they identify as African people, that called the African People's Socialist Party, that has worked for the liberation of Africa and African people, led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela for his whole life. And he has been doing this since the 1960s. So, there's organization of the Uhuru movement in Africa, on the continent of Africa, throughout the US and the Caribbean and Europe, and other places around the world, understanding that African people are one people who have been forcibly dispersed around the world, and that that part of the strategy of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party was creating a front in the white community that works for genuine solidarity from white people with the right of African people to have their land, to have their resources, to fight against colonialism, and to have reparations, the stolen resources of their labor, their land, their genius, just all of the things that have been taken, stolen from African people, and in the process of making, the white world wealthy and powerful. And it's, I would just say also, Joy, that therefore I am, and Jesse Neville, who is also part of the Solidarity movement, we are, we are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We work in the white communities. I have done this since the 1970s, since it was formed in 1976, because I just couldn't walk away from that. There's still, I just see it everywhere, that there has to be the right of African people and all oppressed people to be free, to have their self-determination and control over their lives. And so, and it's a very, very exciting struggle. I would just also mention that the whole popularity and well-known, concept of reparations really came from, in so many ways, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. He built back in 1982 a world tribunal on reparations to African people that was held in Brooklyn, New York. And it just had testimony from so many people, including people like Tupac Shakur's mother, Afeni Shakur, just, John, just different historians, African people who were, knew about African mental health, African health, all of these questions, as well as just, the people who were struggling, to be free. So this whole question of reparations as a popular demand among the people, it certainly had been something that was out there before that, but was something that was really, really fostered by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. So the three of us are under indictment, and that is Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Jesse Neville, who is the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and myself, the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee. And it's something that is completely bogus, and I know we're going to talk about it. And it's pretty. I just can't say it's completely false. It's completely outrageous. We have done nothing that is, not in any. Everything that we've done is supposed to be covered by the First Amendment and freedom of speech. There's no charges of violence or theft or anything else that you would think of as a quote crime. Our only crime is our words. And so therefore the First Amendment, the question of freedom of speech, is in danger for everyone. This is a test case to see what the future of the First Amendment is going to be. So it's a serious case.
Yeah, and it's as far as the FBI, freedom of speech is very subjective, and it's very much, well, yeah, we don't like this, so they said that you were a security risk, a national security risk.
Yeah. It's just like, it's just outrageous. It's just outrageous. And, you just see what this government does every single day, backing the genocide of the Palestinian people and backing just, the deeper, ever deepening poverty of African people, the mass incarceration, the colonial terror against the indigenous people here in this country. You see this, and and then people who just tell the truth about it and talk about how there has to be justice, how there has to be reparations. This is the national security threat. And that's, and this is what they say, that that this country is based on the so-called First Amendment, the right to free speech, freedom assembly, and all of this, which is, as the chairman says, something that's been available for white people, but not for Africans, not for the colonized.
Right.
So,
I do have a video of the FBI raids that Sandy has sent me. Thank you so much, Sandy, for organizing this. And thank you to my dear, dear, dear friend, Lauren, for also, connecting us and just being a beautiful, wonderful human.
Yes.
Was that?
Oh, no, I was saying, are you talking about Lauren Filla?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Great.
Yeah. We've organized together for several years, and she's just a wonderful person. So we love
She
Lauren.
certainly is. She is a wonderful person.
So we have this this video. I wanted to show the audience just how crazy this was. You guys can see it. It's kind of almost like a compilation.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out, something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need? Need one. I don't know. What's whole benefit money? Don't take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of Black people around the world.
Whew, that is so powerful. And I am so glad you guys had cameras. Oh my gosh.
Yes, yes. I mean, it was pretty just, shocking, and of course, in a certain way. I mean, we know what this government does, and we know what this government has done in particular to the Black liberation movement or the African liberation movement in terms of the COINTELPRO in the past, the assassination of the leaders of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, and so many others, and people like Sundiata Acoli, who were in prison until just recently, Assata Shakur, who was forced to flee, just the kind of attacks. We know that that's what this government does to the anti-colonial movement, but it's still to see that. I mean, that day, that July 29th, 2022, that was 7 different locations, some in St. Petersburg, Florida, where you could see the yellow or orange Uhuru House, a beautiful building that's there, and other ones in St. Louis. But you could see the ones going into the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg. It looked like an army. I mean, it was scores and scores of people, and they covered up cameras and just broke every. And that's a large building. They broke every door in the whole building, not just the outside doors, all the internal doors, to offices, etc. And, they did that at the Uhuru Solidarity Center here in St. Louis when, there were people there. They would, they would have said, wait a minute, you don't have to break down the door. Here's the code. Here's how you can get in. They broke down the doors anyway. And they, they came to my house and where another comrade lives here, Kitty Riley, at 5 a.m., broke down that door, actually broke the frame of the door. So, we had to get that totally fixed before anybody could even leave the house. And, same thing with the loudspeakers. They had electrified or, electric battering rams that were coming out of the cars or their vehicles. Armored vehicles. It was truly, and there were probably, 20 or 30 agents here at each house. And then, it looked like at least 100 at the one at the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, Florida. The one in St. Petersburg, Florida had been the headquarters of the African People's Socialist Party since the 1990s, 1980s. It's actually the hometown of Chairman Omali Shatella. So he had been in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee there. He had been in a previous organization that he formed called JOMO, the Junta of Militant Organizations, and then founded the African People's Socialist Party there in 1972. It's just, it's outrageous. It is. And as we say, and as the chairman keeps saying, that that this will test the First Amendment and the outcome of this, if we are convicted of something that, absolutely we did not do, we are innocent of everything that they say, then they can do this to anybody. This is the test case. They can do this to anybody after that. It's everybody's interest to defend this, because this is going to change the situation in this country in a very serious way.
Absolutely. Did you guys have any kind of precursor, any kind of knowledge whatsoever that they were going to be doing these raids?
Well, not exactly, but there were some precursors. There were some things that were happening. Just a few weeks, maybe earlier in the same month of July, somebody came to the Uhuru House, to the parking lot of the Uhuru House in St. Pete, Florida, and took out a military-grade flamethrower and because in all the properties of the Uhuru movement, the red, black, and green flag is flying. It's very beautiful, and just in every setting, but of course in Florida with all the beautiful, greenery that's there and the beautiful flag that's flying and the beautiful sort of yellow salmon colored building. Somebody came to the parking lot, took out a military grade flamethrower, a huge thing, and set the flag on fire, and just drove away, and it was nothing ever happened. Around that, there was no follow-up or nothing, they did nothing about it whatsoever. And so it was probably a test, to see what would happen if they did something on the building. I mean, it just couldn't be a coincidence that happened a couple of weeks in advance. And, there've been other parts and facets of this attack, including the closing of some bank accounts that were movement bank accounts used for the programs and projects that are being built. That is a key part of the work of the Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party. Bank accounts that had been open and used for years, decades, literally decades, which involved many mortgages and other kinds of things that had been paid off and all this sort of thing. And just all of a sudden just closed
So
like that.
monetary sanctions,
Exactly,
essentially.
exactly. Sanctions, just like in, what the U.S. does to the people of Iran, or, the Palestinians, anybody else that the U.S. government deems as an enemy, that it does that, did the same thing to this movement. So,
What
it's,
happened to the money that was in, like, were they able to get that money that was in those accounts?
they may, I mean, possibly, I think so. But the thing is that, it's just when you have other kinds of financial relationships,
Right,
using those accounts, and you have credit and all this kind of stuff that had been built up over the years,
right,
it's an attack on those tools in the hands of organizations of the African working class. Um,
definitely.
but the thing that has been really outstanding is that shortly after that, those raids, as you could see in the video, the Chairman Omali Shatella and Deputy Chair Ona Zane Shatella were both in St. Louis, at the headquarters in St. Louis, which I really invite you to come to and see, because it's so amazing, all of the different programs that have been built there. But so the chairman immediately called a press conference the very same day. I mean, within hours, soon as. And by the way, these people came to the seven sites. They came at 5 a.m. and I think it was 6 a.m. on the East Coast, because it was coordinated. They deadened our phones so we could not call each other or let anybody know. They turned off our phones, and they were there going through files, going through in our, personal, in our house, going through closets, drawers, for about till noon, till almost noon.
Oh my
And yeah,
gosh.
all the cars were out front. There's all the neighbors. Yeah, I mean, they had all their armored vehicles out in front of every site. They had traffic diverted, and it's just, I mean, I know, like, one of our neighbors, an African man, a wonderful family that lives down the street, and they're from Sudan, born in Sudan, Muslim family. And the father, because, they're praying at that, early in the morning. So he was awake and he saw what happened, and he comes running out, and he goes to, the FBI, and the police were there too. You have the wrong place. These are good people. These are good people, he was
Mhm.
saying. And they just, like, pushed him down. They pushed him down onto the ground.
Oh my
And
God.
just vicious, a kind of assault and attack everywhere. And like I said, it lasted hours and hours and hours. And so finally, when it was over, we met up, and the chairman immediately called a press conference and got tons of people out in front of their house, their place that they live in North St. Louis. And we came to that, and then within days, or a very short period of time, the chairman formed the committee, the fight back committee, called Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa. And that has just been an amazing organization that has not only hooked up with other organizations that have come under attack as well, like Stop Cop City or Tampa 5, and others, but have just garnered so much support from just around the world. I mean, just an outpouring of support, and also an outpouring of financial support for the lawyers, for the legal team that had to be built from that. So and it's just an interesting twist, and certainly it's a credit to the leadership of Chairman Omali Shatella to take, an attack and turn it into a victory. And it certainly is a victory for this movement. It's just a beautiful thing to see. And the Hands Off Uhuru has not only won literally the support in one way or another of thousands of people that we probably wouldn't have reached in other ways prior to this, but also has been able to raise this way over almost $300,000 to the legal fees, which are enormous. And that even includes, one of our attorneys, Leonard Goodman, doing it pro bono. I mean, it's still the other team has to be paid, and even the cost of going to trial.
Sure.
Once we've raised the money for the lawyers, which we have done, but now we have to go to trial, and even that alone can cost $100,000 to.
And it's expected to be 4 weeks.
I know.
Right? And a month. So a lot of supporters are absolutely going to be there, but can they stay the whole time?
Well, I think a lot of people will come, and it probably will be staggered to some extent, but I think it's going to be really important to have a lot of people there at the very first to get the, to garner the support, to get the kind of media coverage, and the media does not cover it in the way that we need, but we do have many sources like yours. Even Chairman Omali Shatella was interviewed on Tucker Carlson by that. I mean, just, people who have stepped in from across the political spectrum in a really powerful way. I think that, if we can get 1,000 people, something like that, to come to court, can't even get in, that's going to get coverage, and that will draw others. That will draw many other people to, to keep this out there. And, we'll see. It's going to be very powerful. It's, we're still saying, like, do they really want to do this? They really want to do this. And, we're going to kick their ass. That's all I can say, because this is about the power of the people led by, African people who have fought for every right that we have, just in history and now. And they don't know what's coming for them. I'll just say that, it's going to be really powerful.
Yes. We actually have a clip of Chairman Omali on Tucker Carlson, and it's fire.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I was cheering. I was screaming.
Are you going to play it? Oh, good.
Well, but I'm confused. So you're describing basically what the Black Lives Matter people said 4 years ago. Some of them got legit rich out of it. You don't seem like you've gotten rich, and they got all this money from Apple, the biggest companies in the world, and of course the media cheerled them. How did you miss out on that?
Well, because the thing is, like, to say Black Lives Matter is such an empty slogan. It's a whine rather than a demand. It's empty. I mean, Joe Biden says Black Lives Matter. I mean, you got the whole Democratic Party, Congress and whatever, get out on one knee with kente cloth from Ghana over their shoulder saying Black Lives Matter, because it doesn't mean anything. It's a non-statement. But what we say is Black people have to have power. So we want power over our own life. That's the question. And that's the basis for the difference in how they would treat Black Lives Matter and how they would treat us. And you're right. The Black Lives Matter slogan is almost a Zuckerberg manufactured slogan. Certainly if it's not manufactured by Zuckerberg, it's certainly promoted by Zuckerberg and all the white people who love us.
I'm so glad you picked that one. that is so powerful, just to show that the struggle is for power. This is why the whole concept of reparations as the return of the stolen resources, because there can't be power without the resources that belong to, to the people. It's not an idea, it's concrete, like self-government. Because clearly, as we know, this system is built on genocide of the indigenous people. It's built on stealing African human beings and kidnapping them and forcing them to labor. That's the only reason we as white people have resources, can have a house that is passed down from generation to generation, and resources and wealth and inheritances, which they're saying something like, I don't know, I forgot what it is, something like $50 trillion is in wills right now, getting ready to pass to the next generation. In this country, just the turnover of wealth that goes through the white community, that goes through the white population, is so, it is the reality that we're talking about. And that's why the struggle of African people is for power. The struggle of indigenous people is for power. Like the chairman always says, he's not talking about racism, not the ideas in white people's heads. That he is fighting against the ability of anybody with a bad idea in their head to be able to hurt African people or to have any kind of negative power over them because of the colonial system that we live in. And so this is why this is why it's so clear that it's a struggle for power. It's not about Black Lives Matter. Like he always says, matter to who? It's, the thing is that it's whether African people have control over their land, their resources, and their own community, which has never happened in this country. Or even every time African people such as Patrice Lumumba and Kwame Nkrumah came to power on the continent of Africa, wanting the same thing, wanting to unite Africa, belonging to African people, and kicking out the colonial, looters who have been there for centuries. They're assassinated, just like Malcolm X in this country. And so, that just should also tell us if the United States government is against it, could be something that we support, because it's probably about the justice and the ability of the oppressed and colonized human beings to overturn the situation and to be able to live in a way that they determine the outcome of, and that's the world that we want to see. And I think that when I look at the world as it is, and we look at even something like the climate change and and various, and war, and all of these realities that we face, we know that that's an outcropping and part of colonialism, because colonialism means total control, and it means it necessitates destroying the environment that the colonized live in. And just like the US government destroyed the buffalo that the indigenous people wasn't just that they ate them or something. It was like this was part of their community, of their environment. And it's just that colonialism is about exterminate all the brutes, kill everything that moves, all of the things that all of these sayings and statements that you hear, putting Agent Orange all over everything, kill all the forest and put concrete down. I mean, this is colonialism. This is the mentality and the actual actions of the colonial state that would just destroy everything in terms of the environment and other human beings, which are part of the environment, animals, all living things, so that white people could control it. And, and I think that we see now that there's no way to try to heal the environment that we live in under the system of colonial, what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production, the capitalism, colonial capitalism. There's no way. They're not going to agree. It's not going to have a better Prius or something like that. It's not going to change it. It's when the indigenous people have power, when African people have power and want societies and are working to build societies that are not about the profit motive, but about the ability of people to live and prosper and be part of the entire environment. That's what everybody else is about. That's not what the system that the chairman calls the colonial mode of production is about. And I just think it's really important for us to, as white people, to understand that, because we have a way of defining the world and sort of imposing it on everybody else, that's part of the colonial domination, that our thoughts, our ideas, are what we, that's pretty notoriously true and anybody knows that who knows anything about history. But, it doesn't work, because the people resist. And in a lot of ways, the earth itself is resisting to that. When indigenous people were here, when African people were here and had power and were in Africa and, and around the world, there was, it was one with the environment. It wasn't, even our language is like, conquer the environment, conquer this and that, as opposed to, thrive and live in it and with it. And so I think that, when white people envision a better world, a world without war, and all war is traceable to colonialism. I mean, you could go through back to, I guess the 1400s. Before that, every single war is about control of territory. Every single European war is about control of stolen goods, control of gold and silver and opium and coffee and tea and every other product, commodity that they've made into billion-dollar for sale items. It's all about that. But if we think about a world in which people can live without war, and in which there's not genocide, in which the earth can heal itself, that cannot happen within the system, and that cannot happen under the leadership of white people, because we are the perpetrators and the benefiters of this colonial mode of production, which means nothing is really produced anywhere in this world that doesn't, it doesn't go back to the origin of colonialism, of the conquering of one people over another. There's nothing innocent. Everything is in that context in the world, because that is the economic basis for the reality. And I think that I appreciate that and unite with it, because it makes it very, very concrete. It's very concrete. It's just like the Vietnamese fought against colonialism. The Chinese fought against colonialism. So indigenous people fight against colonialism. So it's a system. It was created by humans, and it can be defeated by humans, and it will be. And that we as white people can be part of it. We can be part of it, but we're not going to be the controllers of it. We can be under the leadership of the colonized in this process and find our own kind of redemption in that way. And I mean, to me, it's very scientific. It really makes sense. And It's a really powerful blueprint, the Black Power blueprint, I guess we'd say, to the new world that will exist.
Do you think that, since the past few months, I mean, many of us have been free Palestine for years, but especially the past 6 months, we've seen this huge uprising and this huge movement of millions and millions of us across
Yes.
the globe, just in the
Yes.
streets. It's been so
Really
beautiful.
powerful. Yeah.
It has. Do you
Mhm.
notice, an increase in membership numbers, so to speak, an increase in people signing up to get the emails and attending meetings and stuff? Do you find that people are understanding the connection?
I think so. I think so. Absolutely. I think that, first of all, I mean, nobody could be on this planet and ignore just the heroic stand of the Palestinian people, of, their organizations, Hamas, they're just the brilliant struggle, the courageous struggle, and what they are enduring in terms of the counterinsurgency, led by the US backed Israel, colonial government. But yet the world is with the world is with occupied Palestine. The world is with Palestinian people. I mean, it's just the majority of the people on the planet Earth are there. And it's so interesting to see, like I just saw Nicaragua was charging Germany with genocide for backing and sending arms to the colonial state of Israel. I mean, it's just it really has been and is the red line in the sand, I guess they say, the line in the sand. It's the dividing line. It's the dividing line. Where do you stand on Palestine? I mean, it's absolutely that. And I know that for the African People's Socialist Party and the African Liberation Movement has always been from, like I said, I joined this movement in the late 70s and mid 70s, I guess. And even then, this is not new. The solidarity of African people with the Palestinian people. I mean, Malcolm X had that, and Martin Luther King, and it's just, it's just natural. It's the same because the U.S. backed state of Israel got its plan on how to colonize people from the U.S. I mean, that's how it learned
Absolutely.
how to, do what it does to the Palestinian people. So, and to see that resistance, wow. I mean, it's so inspiring. It's so beautiful. And, you just know that, I mean, they're going through hell, but they are going to win. They are winning. They have won because the world is on their side. And the people of the world, the masses of the people. So it's a beautiful thing. And it should give us all a lot of confidence of what this future is going to be. And inside this country, just the struggle of African, of indigenous, and indigenous from Lakota to, Spanish speaking, indigenous people coming across the false border, this is the future. This is the future. And this is what it's going to be. So I have full confidence of that. The people are winning, and we will see. We live in a very historic time, and Chairman Omali Shatella always comes back to this, like, this crisis of imperialism, crisis of the system, is because the people just won't do what they want them to do. Even at the barrel of the gun, the people are resisting. The people, are fighting to be free, which is such a deep human impetus, to fight to be free, to fight to have your own culture, to be with others, to be with the people, not to be divided. It's a beautiful thing, and it's very exciting to be on this side of history, and
Yes.
to be in solidarity and genuine solidarity with African people, with the oppressed people on the planet Earth. That is the best thing that we can do. That is the future for us.
Definitely. One thing I wanted to ask you about was also as far as um not just Palestine, but as far as, we were talking about indigenous peoples. You are also involved with fighting for Leonard
Yes,
Peltier,
yes,
who I'm sure most of my audience is familiar with, but yet another political prisoner who
yes.
is indigenous, almost
Mhm.
50 years.
Yes, yes.
So, can
It
you,
is.
for those who may not know his story, can you just give a background?
Well, just to say briefly, I mean, Leonard Peltier was incredibly courageous and still is. And yes, let me just say in 1890, the US government sent the cavalry into Wounded Knee, and which was indigenous land, and where the Black Hills is, which is their most sacred land, and attempted to, this was indigenous land. It was like, you can't have, like, of course they've stolen all this other land, but the whole essence of Wounded Knee and Black Hills and this area was, that was just the ultimate of indigenous land. And so they sent in the cavalry, and they killed hundreds and hundreds of people at Wounded Knee. And then the US government said, okay, now, the US has won. Basically, they said that was it. That was the final defeat. And there's something like 1,500 various wars of indigenous people against the US government in this country. If you look that, if you Google that, some huge amount. And this was the last one, Wounded Knee of 1890. So now they're like, basically, now the West has won, and I live in St. Louis, where they have this arch, and that arch is a symbol of genocide, because it's saying the gateway to the West. The Mississippi River is the gateway to the West. So the gateway to the West, this is where it was called the Jefferson Barracks, where this cavalry was stationed, where they went out all over the country and in the Indian Wars, killing the indigenous people and slaughtering them. Yeah, so it's very, it's very intense to be able to think about that. And so yeah, so we were I'm sorry, tell me your question again.
Oh, I was just asking about Leonard Peltier.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I want to get to Leonard Peltier. Yes,
That's
okay.
okay. No, completely valid.
Yes.
Everything you shared, absolutely.
I mean, the thing is that in the 1970s, the during the time when the Black Power movement, was still there, there was indigenous power, and this was, movement as well, and a lot of it was centered around the Lakota reservation, and there was a huge struggle. This was the time when the American Indian movement was formed, and it was an organization in the beginning that was in a lot of ways modeled off of the kind of organization like the Black Panthers and the Brown Berets of the Chicano people, movements for power over the community. And Leonard Peltier was part of that resistance. And actually, there are films and videos that show that there was really a war going on the Lakota reservation that was between what you would call the neo-colonial forces, people of their own indigenous, but they were complicit and paid by the United States government to keep struggle from coming up. And the American Indian movement was like, no, we want power for the people. And the FBI was coming onto the reservation and trying to control it, just like the FBI, came to over the Uhuru movement and attempted to, stop it, which it cannot do. But the FBI came onto the reservation and they began murdering the people. And they actually committed between 60 and 90 murders of, just people who live there, indigenous people. And so the American Indian movement was a movement of resistance to, this is supposed to be their sovereign land. There's nothing that happened that was, that people didn't have the right to do, quote unquote, even under US government laws. But so there was a lot of resistance and some, a couple of, there was actually, actual resistance because they were killing people. The FBI and the US colonial forces were murdering people on the reservation in great numbers. And so, there was resistance to that. And it was a huge resistance of the whole people. And, Leonard Peltier was among others. Robert Robideau was another one. And some of the other ones were, did not get the prison time, but it was, it was forced on Leonard Peltier. So he was a hero. He was a freedom fighter. He was defending the people. He's much loved by the people. He's a really important political prisoner that the US government and the colonial state has done everything possible to keep him in prison for 50 years. And there is no evidence that he did anything that, there was no evidence. Just like with our case, there's no evidence whatsoever that anything that they said he did, there's no evidence that he did it. There was resistance from the masses of the entire, Lakota nation of people. So, he has been in for 50 years and he's got to come out. I mean, he's almost 80 years old. Not one more year. We have to free Leonard Peltier. It's, just really, really critical that we do. And he is at Coleman Prison, which is one of those psyops kind of prisons. Here is a man, he's just about 80 years old. He's in lockdown almost every day. And it's so outrageous. And we have to free him. We have to force this government to say he has to come out. And that this is indigenous people's land. This is their land. And they must and have the right to have control over, their own government and their own people. And as white people, we need to stand in solidarity with that in the deepest way. I don't have the information for sending letters to him, but you can find that on Free Leonard, I think it's Free Leonard Peltier website, as well as I think it's on, So, I know that he's at Coleman Prison in Florida, and that information should be available. Great, and people can and should write to him and do everything that we can to make sure that he has what he needs, but also to fight like hell. He has to come out. He has to be freed this year. Uhuru.
Absolutely. I do also want to talk to you about, there is a huge movement in uncommitted movement as far as we're in voting season. And as always, it's the most important election of our lives. And democracy is on the ballot. So everyone, who's part of well, I shouldn't say everyone, but majority of people who are serious about the Free Palestine movement have been voting either uncommitted or leaving their ballot blank. There have been
really powerful. Yeah,
yes,
powerful movement.
very.
Yes.
There's 1.2 million people who have voted uncommitted, and
Great.
that has earned 27 delegates. So what that means is at the
Wow.
DNC convention, they're going to say so many for Biden, so many for whoever, and 27 for uncommitted, unless
Wow.
we get more. So that is pretty powerful. Also,
Yes.
I did some calculations and research as far as New York. New York's primary, they have 5.8 active Democrat voters, which means they vote every 2 years. So 5.8 million and 277,000 people voted for Biden. I think
No.
that shows that
Yes.
people are pissed and they are
Yes.
not happy.
Yes.
So, and then I had Dr. Jill Stein back on my show the other night, and she researched how many people voted 4 years ago, and it was like 1.9 million. So even
Wow.
that dropped.
Wow.
So I think
Yeah, it's not going to. I mean, he needs that tiny margin, and it's really a powerful thing. And I do salute, a lot of the Palestinian. I think it was in the state of Michigan
yes,
that started it, and they thought it would just be 10,000, and like you said, it was like 100,000 or more that that did that. And it's certainly sent a message to the Democratic Party. And but I don't. I mean, they can't save Biden. It's just
no, no, no. He's a mess.
yes. I mean, two
And
fronts of the same ruling class of this vicious
absolutely,
country. And I do think that the Uhuru movement has been doing and supporting a an uncommitted movement as well that
yeah,
also is about of course the Palestinian people, the right of the Palestinian people to their land, but also the right of African people in the U.S. to power over their lives and against the political prisoners and just all of the various demands and for reparations too. So yeah, I think that it's really a brilliant move, and it just exposes the whole Democratic Party machine that is nothing more than another side of the other party.
absolutely. They're
upholding.
they have their bombs say BLM and have a rainbow, but they're still bombs.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a website, and I don't have my blind accessibility device hooked up. There's a website. The gentleman today gave it. I want to say it's like Black Votes Matter. Black.
Oh yeah, that was Chimurenga Salambao,
Yes.
who is part of a leader of the Uhuru movement, and he was talking about the uncommitted vote, the uncommitted Black vote as well. He was laying that out, the Uhuru movement strategy, and yeah, that was really powerful to see.
It was incredible. And for those who are in Pennsylvania, like myself, we are a swing district. Oh, well, don't care. Vote your conscience, vote for what you want, not for what they try to push on you.
Yes.
This is your choice, your vote. If people say they support democracy, democracy means choice. Do not fall into this bullying. Your state's not going to lose or win by one vote. So do what you want to do in your heart, the thing that you can actually live with. Because I know if I vote for Biden, just like I said 4 years ago, I wasn't going to vote for him. If I did, I would never forgive myself. And that's just me. But if you're really for healthcare, for environment, for Palestinian people. Like, this man is the epitome of everything we're supposed to be against. So if you are in any states which haven't voted yet, including Pennsylvania, please do uncommitted. And then, come general, there's only 3 candidates saying genocide, and they're all third party. So,
Right. Right.
shocker.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Just the uncommitted, and definitely let's kick their asses. and,
Hell yeah.
and I think, they're getting the message. They have to, because it's as you're saying, it's not just a piddly amount. It's like more and more people are seeing that as a way to express their anger and disagreement and objection to what this government is doing and represents on every front, and internally, domestically, and around the world. So I think I unite. It's a powerful tool, really.
It is. It's
Yes, we
awesome.
need to push it. We need to push it all the way. So
Definitely. As far as the trial, you have made a motion to appeal, or excuse me, a motion to dismiss. What is the status with that?
well, they haven't. They haven't. They haven't dismissed it.
Yeah.
They're and they've went ahead and they set a date for the trial, which is September 3rd. So we have more motions in. We have several different kinds of motions in. We'll see. We'll see.
Now, they're not giving you the ability to have transcripts to some things from the courts.
They're not giving us the ability to have the transcripts to the grand jury. And that the grand jury that created this case, or whatever, that said that we had to be indicted, etc. So no, they're not. The trial is going to start, as far as we know. Everything that we see right now will be September 3rd, beginning September 3rd in Tampa, and in Middle District Federal Court. So, like we said, we just want people to come on down to Tampa, be part of this. This will be history making, and it's going to be really, really important to have all kinds of people there. And we do have many different groups and individuals who have made commitments to be there, but we want to pack the courtroom. We want to be, have thousands of people on the outside as well. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question, of course, we hope and pray this is not the case, but between Mumia and Leonard and Julian, and we see this all the time, what if the 3 of you end up being them finding you guilty? Are you prepared to go to prison?
Well, I would say that there is absolutely, I don't know who's exactly prepared to go to prison in that way, but I would say that there is absolutely nothing that I regret, because everything that the African People's Socialist Party is leading and fighting for is absolutely what the world has to be. And it's a fight. And this is the dying but not yet dead system that's soaked in the blood of the people on the planet Earth and the planet itself, as we were saying earlier. And they're not going to go down without a fight. But this is a new period. This is a new time. And I think that there's just such a, like you're saying, with the Palestinian people, with, the struggle of African people and indigenous people, there's just this consciousness that, the struggle against colonialism, and the understanding that we can't live with colonialism. The earth itself can't survive it. It must be free. It must be led by the people, not profit, not wealth, not theft, not, all of the things, this dirty, filthy system that we live in that's just based on rape, on murder, on plunder, on theft, on lies. People are sick of that and want the power over their lives to live a decent life, and also to live in the world community as as one human family. That can't happen in this system. They say that that everything, that somehow Chairman O'Malley Shatella, this is what the indictment said, was suddenly became a Russian agent in 2014, after 50 years of being in the struggle for African liberation. Like, it's just so absurd. I mean, how?
Because a Black man cannot be powerful. He has to take money from Russians.
Exactly. It's really an insult. It really is an insult. It's something that is, just like a racial slur. I mean, it really is, and this is what they're saying. So it's absurd. And I think that all of this exposes more and more that we live in a time when, when African people, when the colonized people are rising to their true place on this planet. They have to lead this planet because this system is taking it down the tubes. It's destroying human life itself. And I have future that, I have confidence that the future will be in the hands of who are now the oppressed and colonized, and that the African liberation movement is what will determine the future of, of the Americas, of Africa, and its relationship to the people on the planet Earth. And this is what we have to fight for. We can't stop fighting. We can't take for granted, because we do understand that white people sit on a pedestal of the oppression of others. I mean, that's how we get what we have, and it doesn't belong to us. And that, we have to keep fighting. We have to keep working. This system has to go. So I have total confidence. And I know that the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman O'Malley Shatella, Deputy Chair Onus Shatella, these are brilliant, brilliant leaders, and so many others. Chair Mwezi Odom, Director Chimarenga, Salambao that we were talking about earlier. These are brilliant, incredible leaders, and we are winning. So I'm confident. I'm confident in the future.
I always ask my guests, what would you like to leave the audience with? And you just did it. Like, there's like you did it. You took my question.
All right.
Why don't you give everyone the website, how, if you have I know you guys have a Twitter, or if you want to give your personal Twitter, anything like that, any websites or ways that people can learn more?
Well, I want everybody to go to handsoffuhuru.org. And that can tell you so much. It's a great website. It, certainly tells the whole story of the Uhuru movement, of the attacks and the kind of fight back, and has a lot of resources on it, including flyers and other kinds of things. And then there's also the Burning Spear, theburningspear.org. I think, I'm not sure if it's burningspear.org or .com, but it's the Burning Spear newspaper. And that is the incredible newspaper of the African People's Socialist Party that's been coming out. Yes, that's beautiful. And is that burningspear.org or burningspear.com? I can't see it well enough from there, but
I think he put it in the comments. I can't.
All right. Oh yeah, it's burningspear.com. Thank you so much.
And
Yes,
isn't
Bernie
the
Sanders was
gentleman this is the gentleman who is blind?
well, that is DJ Eddie. There's also
Okay.
connected with the Burning Spear and with the Uhuru House in St. Pete that we saw, being raided. There is a radio station, a low power FM radio station there, and DJ Eddie is the manager of that, and he's just a fantastic, incredible comrade and leader of the movement and coordinator, I guess, manager of the station. So, yeah.
That inspires me very much. For anyone who's tuning in for the first time, I am 85% blind. So
Wow.
that's why Matt is helping me on the back end. It just happened 3 years ago. So I
Wow.
just wanted to, continue doing my show and stuff. So I'm kind of limited in, what I can do. So I have, great comrades like this who help me out from time to time, which I truly appreciate.
That's so great. I really appreciate you. And I think that you would be inspired. And if you have the opportunity, you could go to Black Power 96 FM. You can Google that, and you will probably hear DJ Eddie. He's so amazing. He is, like I said,
Awesome.
he is the station manager. It was part of the attack that's coming down when I was talking to you about the bank accounts, etc. One was that in Florida, in St. Pete, the radio station had been, Black Power 96 had been approved for a grant coming from the county commission, but then they attacked it and took it away from them. But that grant was going to go to special equipment for radio for the blind, for DJ Eddie station manager Eddie Monsby to be able to do his job better as the station manager. So that's him. All right, that's so great. Great. Really, just a very amazing, dynamic, just everything,
That
comrade
is
in the
so
movement.
awesome. And I gotta say, you guys, please, there's petitions you can sign on the website. There's so much you can do, even just sign up for the mailing list. I mean, there is so much you can do. Smash the like button, smash subscribe,
Yes,
share
yes.
this show. I'm gonna be making clips of it. You're free to share it. Also, Penny, I told Sandy, you are more than welcome to put this on the website, to make
Thank you.
clips, to do whatever you like. I always say my guests are the show, so you guys can, do as you wish. But thank you so much for
Thank
joining tonight.
you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Joy. You are truly an inspiration yourself.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it's been an honor to be on your show tonight. I really appreciate you, just letting us come on and talk about this important case, and really appreciate you, comrade.
Absolutely. And Chairman O'Malley, Jesse, any of you are welcome at any time. This is something that I will absolutely continue to cover, especially coming up to September. This is something that needs way more, people need way more information on. It's just not talked about enough. I have reached out to a few of my comrades at other news media places. I'm hoping that they take me up on that. So if you're watching, you know who you are. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I'll be doing another panel with those in East Palestine, Ohio. You guys
Great.
know I've been there 4 times. I've
Oh, wow.
raised with the help of so many of you, I've been able to give over $14,000 of mutual aid. I just organized that town hall with Jill Stein. So you guys know how involved I am. There's dozens of interviews of me with residents. Well, they were just offered this $600 million settlement yesterday. And
Oh, really?
unfortunately, people are celebrating, but the reality is, out of 150,000 people, that would give them each $4,000.
Oh, wow.
So, and given that they all lost their homes and
Yeah.
they are getting cancer
They
and
have huge health problems, right? Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they're in the hospital with seizures, tremors, bleeding out the nose, bleeding out the ears. Every time I go there, I get sick.
Wow.
So instead of celebrating, tune in tomorrow night as, you know, we break down what this means and the fact that they would have to not bring it up anymore. They could no longer sue, or, you know, they'd be cutting
Oh,
off
yeah.
all their rights.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. So let's not celebrate this. Let's actually look into this and listen to what we're saying, because this is not a victory in any way, shape, or form. Sorry for the long rant, but they know, like, these are my people, so I get really, really into it. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Smash like, subscribe. I also just started a Rumble. I'll be putting clips on that as well.
Good.
Subscribe on that. And again, Penny, thank you so, so, so much for joining. It was very educational and the honor was all mine.
Well, thank you so much, Joy. And it was a pleasure. So I hope let's stay in touch and
Absolutely.
yes, and Uhuru.
Uhuru. Much
We are
love,
waiting
everyone.
to